Cahill, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Grant,
Here.
Mr. Carpenter,
Present.
Mr. Leeds,
Here.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Here.
and Mr. Fulham.
Present.
Would everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1.3, additions and deletions to the agenda. The addition of item 6.8 to approve the contract with Julian and Groove for financial audit for fiscal year 2022, and the deletion of item 10, adjourn to executive session. Is that correct? Is that the only?
That's all.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions? Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds,
Aye.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 1.4, approve the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Leeds,
Aye.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye. Motion carried. Moving on to section 2, discussion and comments from the board. We'll start with Mr. Leeds, legislative.
I had a conversation this afternoon with Thomas Hall, and of course everybody's still in recess up there, and they will be till after the election. And I asked him about the pipeline, where we stood on that, if they, during recess, if they have been talking about it, and he said that he feels that it'll have to be an amendment to a bill, because there's not enough senators or legislative people that are involved in the pipeline itself. There's not enough area. So like if somebody in Toledo put a piece of legislation on, then they may attach to that something about this taxation on the pipeline. But the other thing is, they do not have a speaker of the House, and until that speaker is approved, they don't even know what they're going to work on, because he has to sign their work details. And so he said that it'll probably be sometime in December or maybe January before we have much action at all on the pipeline. So, but he did say that, he's been talking to CUP up there about it, and everybody is concerned. And of course, again, the Department of Taxation has the final say. And until they get the legislation up and say, okay, rule on this, let's go, they can't come up with anything.
So the earliest we would hear anything would be December.
Probably December, he said, because it'll be November 15th or after before they even appoint a speaker.
Okay.
And tell me, by the time he finds out where the restroom is, it'll be December.
So it'll probably be first quarter of 23.
Yeah, probably, yeah. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Guido, Butler Tech.
Mr. President, Board of Education. So I've handed you two pieces of paper. First, we'll start out with your student success letter. Some things to point out. I did attend the full throttle race they had at Lawrenceville Speedway. One of the most interesting evenings I've ever had. There's a reason why parts of the seats were empty, is because all the dirt is thrown up on you in the turn. So never been to a dirt race, but I get it. But it was fun. All the students were there. There were probably, 100 people that showed up with their parents, or parents and students, and some of the business people that donated to it. The purpose of that race car was to raise funds for the foundation, the Butler County Alumni Foundation. And it also provided money for students that didn't have the money to buy their equipment. So if you're in the welding program, you need a welding mask and gloves and that stuff. Stethoscope for some of the medical programs, but you kind of get the picture there. But so raised over $20,000 through donations for businesses who supported that. And so they hope to get that up and running a little further. So if you'll turn to the very back of this page, there's a thing on the Alumni Association. And so there is a QR code, you can scan that. So if you are an alumni of Butler Tech at any point in time, you can scan that, log into the information. There's tons of stuff on there, a lot of benefits, some networking, and obviously they're going to probably hitch up to maybe donate some money to help the current students in some of those programs. So we have a lot of students that have financial need to go to Butler Tech, and it's a great way to get involved to a school district that you may have attended. Okay? So share that around if you know anybody that attended Butler Tech. I mean, there's a ton of stuff you can look through the magazine. Debbie pointed out, this was also in the paper, but through the aviation program at Hook Field, they did bring a B-25 bomber, and so the students got to play around in it. Didn't get to fly in it, but they did get to take a look at it. So some pretty interesting things, and this is a just a connection through there. The guide knows the program is there, so he flew the plane in. This is actually the second time that plane has been there, but students absolutely loved it. The second piece of paperwork that I sent you really has all the demographics of Monroe's relationship to Butler Tech. Enrollment numbers, as you can see, the big blue graph there, our enrollment went up from last year from 98 and a half FTEs, which is full-time enrollments, to 121 and a half students. Some of them go part-time there. That's how you have a half a student, so you don't have full that. But it's pretty interesting. You can see a 10-year graph, at least of the initial enrollment numbers that are going to the campus, and it also breaks it down per program or per campus that we have. Bioscience, D. Russell Lee, Natural Science Center, the Public Safety Complex, and the School of the Arts. Those are what those all stand for. So you can see how many students are in each of those different campus buildings that are there. One of the numbers that I liked was the natural science student numbers. Even though it went down by a couple students, we do have 9 current Monroe students at our campus out here. So love to see that increase, but what it is. And you guys can search through as well. If you go into the 3rd and 4th pages, it talks about our satellite programming. Even breaks it down by teacher, what class they're teaching, and how many students are in those. So the satellite programs are the ones that are here on the Monroe campus. And so you can see they start in middle school and go all the way up through high school. So there's probably more data than I certainly am going to go over here tonight, but it does give you a lot more of a picture of the Monroe footprint at Butler Tech, either on the campuses and here. So I think this is good. This will come out once a year. Once school starts, you're going to get the data for this year as well. So any questions on any of that?
I saw that October 27th as the.
Oh, yeah, I
cutting.
forgot.
Is that just
That's my
still
last.
tentative or?
No, that's a hard date. Actually, the agenda went out today. AJ and Debbie said they got the email tonight, and I didn't check my email yet, but it did. So it's October 27th, 9 o'clock. And then they'll be giving tours after the ribbon cutting and presentation. So anybody that can make it, show up. I think that's going to be a big moment for the program over there at the National Science Center as well as Monroe. So I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Students are going on campus October 20th is their first day over there.
Okay, good. I have a question on your sheet that you put out here with the race car and everything. How did that get on the track without you being in it?
Well, yeah. What happened after the race is nobody's business. No. Yeah, I was not allowed anywhere near that car. And actually, it was in the final. I had left earlier because we had things to go to, but it did make the final race in the evening. He did put it into the wall, so there's some damage. But the good thing is the kids do get to rebuild it. So it gives them motivation.
Yeah, it's a learning lesson.
Maybe he did that on purpose. I'm not 100% sure. because it was fun. It actually ended up being a fun night. Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Gatto.
Thank you.
Moving on to finance.
Finance, we have not had a meeting. I'm thinking we're gonna have one soon.
Okay.
There's
Very-
nothing to report.
Very good. Moving on to 2.4, student achievement.
All right, it's been a great start to the year for the primary students who had their second highest fundraiser in the past 10 years with their Otis Spunkmeyer cookie dough sale, which netted over $47,000 in sales. Also, congratulations to all of our primary school Hornets of the Month. The elementary students participated in this year's PTO Fun Run, which exceeded their goal and raised more than $30,000. So congratulations to all the students and participants and those who donated. Also, since they met their collective goals, some of the students got to dunk Mr. Ward and Mrs. Larison in the dunking booth. And it's rumored that fall started that day, so it was a little cold. And so the students had a little extra fun with that. So thank you to our principal and assistant principal in letting the students have a little extra fun for hitting their goals. Junior high school, the August 22 Students of the Month. So congratulations to Carson Webb. So here's a note from Carson's math teacher, Mrs. Conley. I nominate Carson because he has already shown how much of a team player he is in the class. He is always participating and answering questions. Carson comes to class with a smile on his face every day. He treats his peers with respect and is always willing to help other students. He is a great example of how to stand up and own it. Keep up the great work, Carson. And our 8th grade student of the month is Yasir Al-Mafraki. His social studies teacher, Mrs. Boggs, had this to say about Yasir. I would like to nominate him for the very first 8th grade student of the month. Yasir is a model student. He is always putting forth his best effort, and he aims high. He sets a great example for his peers. He is always prepared and on task. Yasir is brave enough to ask questions and seek support when he needs it. Yasir always has a fantastic attitude and a smile on his face. He is kind to everyone and embodies the 3 core values of MJHS: better together, relentless effort, and stand up and own it. Yasir has started the year off strong, and I know he will continue to thrive on his path of success for the remainder of the school year. And in high school, it was an exciting week, obviously, at the high school, and a fantastic homecoming week for our students. Student behavior has been outstanding, and our pep assembly was absolutely awesome. Mr. Prohaska had someone even comment that it really feels like we are back to normal. PBIS Future Ready plans are helping to create a sense of community and healthy competition between Hornet times. Math Lab is off to a great start, providing students with additional resources and assistance where needed. Our counseling office is providing our seniors with great information and lots of scholarship opportunities, as well as sharing resources about financial aid. FAFSA informational meeting dates will be set in October, so keep an eye out for those. And we have had the military here to meet with students during lunch, and we have had a few businesses here to recruit workers, including Culver's and Kings Island. So that's all we got.
Very good. Exciting first month.
Busy first month, ready to get going.
First full month, yeah.
Yep.
MEA, anyone from MEA? All right. Moving on, see we have nothing for recognition. And communication, seeing none, we will move on to section 5, presentations.
All right, Jody's gonna, Mrs. Long is going to speak to us a little bit about the state report card data.
Okay. Is it in there? Let me say that. Thank you. There you go. Okay. So we only have 3 slides tonight. Title slide. And our next slide, if you want to get to the next one. Thanks. So as you can see, the report card has changed a lot this year. We've gone to the star rating. So while you're going through and looking at those real quick, I'm just going to remind you what each of the categories is made up of so that you know what you're looking at. So the achievement, that's the performance index score. The PI score accounts for the level of achievement of every student on each test that they take. Higher achievement levels receive larger weights in the calculation. Progress is the overall value added progress measure. It measures the impact of district, schools, and teachers on students' academic growth from year to year. Then gap closing. Gap closing is the component that shows how well schools meet performance expectations in ELA, math, and graduation. It also measures how schools are doing in supporting English learners to gain language proficiency. It includes reducing chronic absenteeism for all students, and it also includes identifying gifted students and providing gifted services to those students. Chronic absenteeism was not figured into this year's report card, though. It will start next year. Although it does, if you look at the interactive report card, you'll see a percentage there, but it didn't count into the rating. Graduation, of course, measures our graduation rate of all of our students. And then early literacy, that is the measure that measures reading improvement and proficiency for students in grades K to 3. And it includes 3 components. They're all unrated, but they all work together to get a percentage, which then gives us the rating. So as you can see, we did well. We've got our, can you move that down just a little bit, Cinda? I'm sorry. To the second slide, sorry, up. We did, in achievement, we exceeded state standards. Progress, we met the growth expectations. Gap closing, we exceeded. Graduation, we exceeded. And then early literacy, we met the student growth expectations. There's a 5-star is the highest you can get. So on the next slide, then we always like to talk about where we are with the county. So you can see this is our PI, our performance index score. So we are second, right behind Ross, in our PI score this year. And that's about it, unless you have some questions.
Are we gonna kick Ross's butt this year?
We might.
We taking over.
We hope.
We're close.
I was going to talk a little bit about my communication as well, my piece as well. I've got some additional-
Okay.
So I have one question, because I see we have three categories that we exceed and get a 4-star. What does it have to take? Like, how are we compared to getting the 5-star? I mean, how rare is a 5-star?
I don't think it's rare. But I don't know how many schools receive 5 stars, like across the state of Ohio. I didn't look that up. And honestly, because these calculations are all pretty complicated, I'd have to sit down and really figure out how close we are to moving into the next category.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
It's not just a straight calculation, like if you get this percentage of kids to score this
Right.
or exceed, you get this number of stars. To be honest, it doesn't make a lot of sense. What most people look at is the achievement.
Yes.
The PI index,
Yeah.
because that's where they rank the schools, and that's where, when they look, where do you compare to the rest of the state and that kind of stuff. So, we, as Jody said, we did well, and we're pleased. I think, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, it's one piece of data that we look at, and we need to continue to work hard. You guys hired me, you said you want to be the best in Butler County, and we'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, when you look at that, you gotta ask yourself a question. You got a 4-star, and you're exceeding the state standards. It's a wonder the state doesn't come in and raise the standards. If you exceed them in a 4-star, really.
Easy, Tom.
Yeah.
Of course, that's the state, and I realize that. But no, that's good. It's a good job.
Yeah, we should be very proud with these
Good
results.
job.
I know we have very high expectations in this district, and I know everybody up here has very high expectations, and I know our administrators and teachers are working hard. Our students are doing fantastic, and I couldn't be more proud of them for what they've accomplished. And coming out of a pandemic, and not that every other school that hasn't had to deal with that, but to still be atop in the top of the district at the top of the county is exciting. So It's fun to chase number one, so let's get them.
You know, I feel sorry for our staff and our students. I mean, Monroe doesn't get enough recognition to be number 2 in the county.
I agree.
I would agree.
They want to lean
100%.
toward Fairfield and Lakota and all these, and the other schools, but, you know, we're not up here doing nothing, that's for sure.
I don't remember the last time that I've seen an article about Monroe in any of the local papers. Really, I mean, it spotlights and highlights our students and our teachers for everything that we're doing up here. It just, it's a little disheartening. At least 5 years.
I post a lot on my Facebook account.
You're a little biased.
Our teachers are doing wonderful. Yes.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you, Jody.
All right, moving on to section 6, treasurer's business, item 6.1.
Well, we talked about blocking, the idea of blocking.
Yes.
And I would like to block 6.1 to 6.8, all of my items. And what happens when you block is you vote to block, and then you go through each one and discuss it, and any questions you have.
Okay.
And then we vote one vote to
Takes them all.
stop. Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right, so with that being said, may I have a motion to approve blocking item 6.1 to item 6.8?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Okay, I'll call the roll.
Okay. Did
I
you
think
want?
we have to vote, we call the roll to
Yes.
vote, and then,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
Mr. Leeds,
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Grant.
Aye. Motion carried.
Well, the minutes really speak for themselves, so I'm not going to talk about them. The treasurer's report, again, it's 2 months into the year, so there's really not a great deal to report. But I did share with you that our revenue through August 31st this year is about 1.3 million more than last year. And I attribute that to the foundation payment. We were still being paid on the old formula until January. And so over time, it will catch up some. I mean, there's no way we're going to be 1.3 million for 2 months. I mean, that would translate into several million. But we do expect to be paid $1 million more by the state. So that is good news. And especially because as you approve these contracts, that the percentage increases are really skyrocketing. And so hopefully, this will help carry us through that. So that's basically mostly what I can tell you right now. And I do want to have a finance meeting once a quarter. And so July, August, September, so we'll have one like early October, if that works for you all.
Okay.
So I'll be in touch with you about that.
Good.
So,
Thank you.
Okay, so that's, unless you have questions, that's the financial report for right now. Okay. And the bond fund report, again, all the funds are where they're supposed to be. So, and we did receive a new safety grant, $25,480, and so I'm asking you to approve that grant and the fund to account for that. And do quite a few things with that one. And then the 6.5 is to approve the amended certificate of estimated resources. And we can revise this throughout the years as revenue changes. We've never done it a great deal, but we'll just see how things go. I mean, for the new people, you might see this throughout the year. So we get this approved. It's showing what we estimate our receipts to be. So, and they must cover our expenses. All governments have to submit an amended a certificate of estimated resources with the Butler County Budget Commission. So that's what this is. We do it in September along the same time we're doing appropriations, which is permanent appropriations must be submitted by schools by September 30th. And again, there might be revisions to appropriations depending on what comes up. Things change and that kind of thing. But so I'm asking approval for those 2 items. And then Second to last is a transfer of $464. And this is transfers between funds are required by the state auditor, and even if it's a tiny amount. And what happened was the junior high student council purchased spiritware, and Joe wanted to buy some out of his fund, 018, for the staff, and so he's reimbursing that fund, and that's what they asked me to do, Ashley Boggs. So I'm glad to do that. And then the last is Julian and Group. They're going to start their financial audit, and I'm just happy to say that we're locked into this $20,900, and even that's a lot less than we were paying the state when they came. It was always $25,000. So we're locked into this for 5 years. So that they may not be happy, but we are happy with that. I don't know. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any questions on any item from 6.1 to 6.8? No? All right.
Okay.
Mrs. Gale, please call the roll.
Okay. Let's see.
Actually, we have to take a
vote
We have
on
to take another motion. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
May I have a motion to approve item 6.1 to 6.8?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Mrs. Gale, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Leeds,
Aye.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye, motion carried. All right, thank you, Mrs. Cahall. Moving on to section 7, superintendent's update.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. I want to start off by, again, reiterating a couple people have already talked about homecoming last week. It was a great event here. It kind of, even though it's a high school event, the junior high, elementary, primary, they all get into Spirit Week, and it was a great time. We had our first, since I've been here, our first real Hornet Walk, which was something that I'd never experienced before, which is just something unique to Monroe that is just a really cool event. And the kids enjoyed it. One's participating as well. For those of you who don't know, basically anybody involved in the fall activity and the marching band, they march through the halls playing the fight song before the homecoming pep rally. And the kids all line up in the hall. And especially the younger ones, just
They love it.
They love it. So
Awesome.
it was a really nice event. Homecoming game, they came out with a victory, which is always good, and then the dance. The student council kids were in here decorating all morning, and they did a really nice job. And the dance went off great. I experienced my first homecoming as a parent. Still not quite sure how I feel about it, but the kids had a great time. So I do want to talk a little bit about the report card. I think in my weekly report to you guys, I mentioned something about, I said I'm not necessarily happy with it. That's not the right word. I'm going to retract it. I am actually very happy. I'll say I'm not satisfied with it. I think that we can continue to do better and we can continue to grow, but I'm actually very happy. I think there was a report in the paper that highlighted some schools that went up like 8 to 10 points. We went up 14 points from the previous year, and that is I strictly attribute that to the hard work of our staff, the teachers, the paraprofessionals, the administrators. They came in last year, worked every day, and the first, everybody started that year thinking it's going to be back to kind of normal, and then, that first semester was really difficult for everybody, but they worked hard and went through, and so to go up to that many points is really remarkable. So I do want to retract that. I am very happy and pleased with the staff, but we're not satisfied. We're going to continue to work hard. The good thing about this is that you can get on ODE and the portal to look at test scores, and it gives us a lot of really valuable data that we can target some specific areas that we're going to work with to get better. So that is something that the ODE has really improved. I would say it's a lot easier to narrow down where our deficits are. So I want to remind everybody that we are having a work session on October 4th. It'll start at 5:30 p.m. Over the board office, and it is to talk about I think it was just my last board, at the last board meeting, we talked about kind of a building update of where we were. And we are actually going to meet with 3 architecture firms, and I'm going to get their opinion, kind of a presentation to us on. They've all toured the building with me. They've all seen the improvements that have been done to the building, see how we've been creative with our current space. What are their suggestions for how do we get from here to when the OFCC funding comes in and we go with the new building? And so the 3 firms are SH&P, VSWC, and Fanning and Howey. So one will be at 5:30, one will be at 6:15, and one will be at 7. So they'll have about a half hour to present, question and answer, give us a few minutes in between. And let's see. Then the last thing I just want to talk about, as we talk about improvements, again, before the last board meeting, we toured some of the things that were done over the summer to add additional space. We have they have started the gym floor resurfacing, and I just want to show you that was what they got done today. They get in there, and yes, it is, when you sand, it's dusty, but it's unbelievable. They've got these, the thing's actually out of the way. It's got these 4 huge bags on it, and when they sand it, it sucks all of it up, and then so there is, I'm not going to lie and say there's no dust, but it is amazing compared to what
it should be.
they used to be. When I was in college, I worked as a custodian 3 summers, and it was in an older building that had, all wood floors in the classrooms and the gym, and the dust, you would taste varnish for days. So it's much better, much different process. So. And then if you scroll down a little bit, I don't know if I shared with, that is what the floor after they redo it is going to look like. They're going to take it all the way down, repaint it, so it'll really look sharp.
Good.
It's long overdue. They suggest anywhere between every 10 to 12 years, and we're going on year 19, I think, so it's definitely past years.
Yeah. How long is it gonna take for them to get this job completed?
So it's about a 3-week
3 weeks?
process. A lot of it's in between the process. It has to sit.
Okay.
And then after it's done, you're not supposed to be on it for another week. So Mr. Silverman did a good job of rearranging schedules, and it's not gonna affect anybody too much. They flip-flop some games, so there were a couple more home games for volleyball that are now away, and they flopped them. So they still have the same number of home games. They were just a little bit.
Okay.
And that is all I have. Does anybody have any questions about that? No. All right, we'll move on to.
I don't have any questions, but I got a statement I think we need to make. Your report that you gave on the scoring that we have with the state.
Mhm.
This is a prime example of what we need to have the media hone in on. And I would like to make a recommendation that we contact the Journal News, and if they're not going to do anything, we need to contact somebody else. Because the staff and the students and the community need to see this.
Is that something that Adam can help
I
out
was
with?
going to say that.
I was going to make that point.
I think
Sounds like-
now that we have our PR person on board, that I would like him to get together with myself and Mike Clark, who's the education
Yeah.
person for the Journal.
Yeah.
Sit down so that he can, I know him a little bit, but, so Adam can get to know him so we can start getting that positive information.
I mean, that's just my opinion, but I think we need to definitely put that out.
Yep.
Yeah, I've sent him text, I've called him, Michael Clark, and it just falls on deaf ears. He has people cover, and then nothing ever happens. So I agree, that would be a good
Okay,
thing.
good report.
Yep, absolutely. All right, thank you. Moving on to section 8, superintendent's personnel business.
I'm going to recommend that somebody make a motion to block 8.1 through 8.6.
Okay, may I have a motion to block items 8.1 to 8.6?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
Mr. Leeds,
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye, motion carried. All right.
All right, I'll go through, and if you guys have any questions. For the personnel section, it's pretty light, beginning of the year. We have most of our positions, it's just some supplementals. Eric always thinks he gets it all set, and then they have a few that leave, and he's looking for more. So there's a few resignations from supplementals, and then a couple substitutes, obviously, replacing some of those resignations for the supplemental contracts. And then we have some gate workers, and also we have two paraprofessionals that have an extended day where they have additional supervision.
Anyone have any questions? Fine. May I have a motion to approve items 8.1 to 8.6?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. And section 9, superintendent's other business.
I'd recommend we block sections 9.1 through 9.7.
May I have a motion to block 9.1 to 9.7?
So moved.
Second.
You, Mr. Hold on, flip my page here. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Was that Mr. Fulham?
Sure.
Yes.
All right, Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried.
The first section there is donations, which we're always thankful for, and if you see the one is a pretty substantial one from Major's Farm. They did a presentation at the football game. They actually raised double that, and they gave that equal amount to the youth football program. So they are very interested in continuing to look at ways to help out the school district, and they set a meeting with Mr. Silverman and Mr. Catanzaro and myself for, I think it's tomorrow, isn't it? Just to talk about future opportunities. Fantastic. So, always great to have support like that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Good partner.
Yes. There is another student that's attending GOVS, which is the virtual school. That is a quote there. We have a contract in here for CCP. It is at a daily rate, $80 one day, $160 daily rate. Again, is for a special needs student. Then we have a nurse's contract for substitute nurses.
I don't know. Oh, there's other ones. Premier.
It's an additional one?
There's a
Okay.
bunch of them.
All right. And then there is a revised contract. So when Butler County ESC originally gave us the contract, we added an additional position for our attendance officer, and so they had left that off, and so it was separate. So it's an amended one, and that's the additional salary for our full-time attendance officer. The 9.6 is the annual agreement with the city of Monroe for our SRO. I do want to share that it is an increase due to the fact that obviously their salaries increase as their contract. But in the past, we've had technically 1.5, and Butler Tech, we shared one of them with the Butler Tech campus. Butler Tech decided that they wanted a full-time one on that campus, and so we decided that we wanted to keep 2 full-time instead of having 1.5. So there is an increase there. And then finally, 9.7 is just calendar.
Okay.
Any questions about anything?
I have a question.
Yes.
So we have 2 resource officers here at this building. Is there one at the,
They're 2 full-time for the district.
The
So
district, okay.
they're over at the primary
the
building.
primary?
So,
Okay. Thank you.
So
yes.
there could be times we have 3 SROs on this hill
Yeah.
at one time.
One over at Butler Tech and 2 here.
Yeah, okay.
So.
And I wanted to make a reference to the revised summary of services contract, that additional money is also being paid out of ESSER 2 funds.
I believe it is off the top of my head.
At least that's what it says here.
Says that on there.
Let's see. This TV was considered by the VLA
No.
coordinator.
Oh, the VLA was ESER 2, this one's coming out of the general fund.
Okay, with an increase of 48 in the general
48
fund.
in the general
Okay.
fund.
Helps if I complete my sentence. All right, very good. All right, any questions? All right, may I have a motion to approve items 9.1 to 9.7?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Mrs. Cahal, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. All right, before we adjourn, we will start with comments from the board. We will start with Mr. Leeds.
Well, again, I think that the staff and the students and the community is being short-sighted by the lack of press about the school. And we need to correct that one way or another, because the staff's doing one fantastic job, and so are the students, and they need to be recognized, except up on the screen. And we need to, whatever we have to do it, let's do it, and get that taken care of. But appreciate everything everybody's doing. Like we said earlier, the ball games that we've had have been well attended. I know I've sat in traffic for an hour and a half at each one of them trying to get out of here, but that's immaterial. So, it's been fantastic this year, I think, the way their attendance. So, that's all I got.
Thank you. Mrs. Hagedorn?
Okay. I just wanted to say that homecoming week, kind of piggyback on with what Mr. Buskirk had said earlier, was wonderful, and I wasn't a part of, but to know that the Hornet Walk was back, not just outside the building. I think they did it outside last year, but have it inside the school. I think it's fabulous for like the elementary kids to see that, like to go, oh, one day I can do that. So they have something to look forward to. I think that's great for the students. I was excited to see the senior parking lot spots being painted earlier, a little bit. I think it was the weekend after Labor Day due to the rain that happened. I'd like to congratulate all the sports. Seems like the season's turned out fabulous for all of the sports, that they're all doing a really good job. Looking forward to the Monroe Thespian Troupe performance the end of October. So that's coming up for those that are interested in that. Excited that the junior high hosted the Cinema on the Sidelines, and they watched the Disney the movie Moana. So I heard that was a huge success. Also very excited for the Monroe Elementary. For their 5th year booster fun run, they raised over $30,000. That's what I know. AJ had mentioned that earlier. And I'm excited to attend the Butler Tech open house at the end of October. That'll be pretty neat. And I just wanted to give a shout out to all the staff and administrators at Monroe to do so well on the report card. I'm looking forward to trying to get some 5 stars and getting up there. I know that's the goal. But I wanted to also thank Mrs. Griffin, Mr. Ward, Mrs. Larison, Mr. Stanger, Mr. Prohaska, and Mr. Kramer. We're 1 month into the school district, and seems like everything's running smoothly and the students are thriving. So I think that's a pretty good shout out for the leaders of the school.
Very good. All right. Mr. Fuller?
It's time for the high fives from around the hive. All right. Need a little energy in here, right? All right, high five and congratulations to our newly crowned homecoming king and queen for the class of 23, seniors Elijah Jackson and Riley McKinney. And shout out to all of our court members. It's a really cool honor and awesome to see everybody out there on Friday night. High five to an awesome tradition, our annual Hornet Walk, which takes place throughout the halls, led by our bands, student athletes, and seniors. Big smiles and high fives are all shared between all involved in preparation for an exciting homecoming weekend. High five to our staff of amazing bus drivers who get our students safely to and from school, as well as extracurricular activities on a fantastic start to the year. We appreciate you all so much. High five to John Kramer, who is a nominee for this year's Ohio Association of Secondary School Administrators Assistant Principal of the Year. So way to go, John. That's awesome. I think we'll find out any week now, soon, hopefully. I don't know. Hopefully you didn't find out and I'm wrong. And high five to the family and workers of Majors Farm, as well as our volunteers who assisted in raising $20,000 of donations that went toward our high school and youth football programs. Thanks to everyone in the community who donated to help support these programs. That's it.
That's it. Very good. Thank you very much. Mr. Carpenter.
That was crazy. Keep up the good work, AJ.
It's never going to end.
It's not. It's
4 years of this.
Oh, man. Woo! But yeah, like everybody said, I heard nothing but positives about the homecoming parade. She had a great time as well. But I know my daughter was walking in and she said it was great. My middle daughter was in the audience, said it was fantastic. We have some squeaky doors around here. But
Yeah, all right.
thanks, Jesse. But yeah, I don't know. I've totally lost my train of thought now.
Homecoming parade, your daughter was
I
in
know.
it, your daughter
You
was
know what?
watching
You
it.
know what?
Squeaky doors.
Golly, come on. But I don't know. I'll just finish off with, let's go beat up Franklin this Friday.
Keep that trophy in
I don't
Hornet
even know what I
Country.
was gonna say, but just go for it. I had some good stuff. I just totally lost it. Oh, I do want to say I did see a really great clip of the Tom and John show.
Yes, I saw that as well.
We need to reenact
Amazing.
that. Actually, can we have a performance?
I think we should
Can we
broadcast
replay
it
that?
onto the screen here because I am talking about the guitar playing.
Your supplemental singing is. Can you sign them up twice?
She's not a miracle worker.
I can't say I would have done any better though, so it's fine. It's fine. But if you haven't seen it, you should tune in. It's great.
So I get the joy of just piggybacking off of everybody since I'm always the last one to speak. But anyway, in regards to the parade, to piggyback off that, yes. I have heard from numerous people that that was probably one of the best parades in recent times in here in Monroe. So it was really, really well attended and everyone had a really good time at the parade. In regard, I'll piggyback off what Tom said. I've been on the board now. This is my 8th year. I think the last time I saw a reporter sitting right over there was 7 years ago. So I believe it is time to make that happen because with all the work that the students, the staff, the administrators are putting in, they do need to be recognized for their great work that we do in the district. And I will echo what Kim said in regards to keeping the booster trophy here in Monroe this year. So we'll keep that here again this year with Franklin coming up this Friday. Other than that, that is it for me. I'll keep it short. So with that being said, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:18?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried and meeting adjourned.